We begin in the US, where President Donald Trump has signed a travel ban to stop people from 12 countries from entering the United States.
Breaking overnight, there are two major headlines coming from the White House showing you and indicating where the president's focus is right now. Travel ban and Biden.
Has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas.
Another day, another way that Donald Trump is actively making life worse for the very people who voted for him.
In March 2025, something quietly broke. International travel to the United States dropped by over 11% in a single month. That's not just a blip, it's a signal. From Canada, visits fell 17%. From Mexico, down 23%. Germany, down 28%. Spain, 25%. The UK, 18%. These aren't just tourists skipping a vacation. These are sharp, coordinated pullbacks from America's biggest travel partners. And the economic hit. It's piling up. Industry analysts now project the U.S. will lose over $12 billion in international tourism revenue by the end of 2025. But numbers only tell part of the story. Look at the images flooding social media near empty cabins on flights from Europe. Lone passengers spread across rows. A woman flying from London to Chicago posted, "There was nobody there, not a single person in my row." What happened to the land of bucket list dreams, the place everyone once called the trip of a lifetime? Today that dream is fading, quietly, steadily. And for the first time in decades, the U.S. is no longer the world's most wanted destination.
The U.S. is tracking a big drop in tourism from around the world. Take a look at this. Travel from Canada and Mexico was down double digits in March. We're also seeing fewer visitors from Western Europe, Central and South Asia, South America, I should say.
So what's behind this sudden drop in global tourism to the United States? It's not just about flight prices or vacation planning. Something deeper is at play, something that touches identity, dignity, and the sense of being welcome. For many international visitors, the journey doesn't begin when they land in New York or Los Angeles. It begins the moment they approach the U.S. border.
Catastrophic and unprecedented $12.5 billion loss for tourism. You heard me correctly, $12.5 billion loss just in 2025.
And for a growing number of travelers, that experience has changed dramatically. More and more visitors are reporting long delays at immigration, unexpected secondary screenings, and even phone inspections. In some cases, travelers with valid visas have been turned away or held for hours without explanation. These aren't isolated incidents anymore. They're becoming common enough that several countries, including Germany, Japan, and Australia, have updated their official travel guidance. And these stories are spreading fast. Social media is filled with personal accounts of people arriving in the U.S., full of excitement only to end up in an interrogation room confused and humiliated. It's no longer about security, it's about perception. When entering a country feels more like crossing into a hostile bureaucracy than arriving at a destination that matters. And then there's the money. The cost of visiting the U.S. in 2025 is climbing fast. Flights are more expensive. Hotel rates are breaking records. Even basic travel insurance is costing more, especially for longer international stays. Factor in a strong U.S. dollar making everything from coffee to taxis more expensive, and it's no surprise travelers are rethinking their plans. But it's not just about affordability. It's about how welcome people feel spending their money in a place that seems increasingly distant and unpredictable. The global headlines don't help either. Trade disputes, political rhetoric, sudden visa policy changes. It's creating a cloud of uncertainty, and most travelers, when given the choice, prefer peace of mind over political friction.
The likes of New York, Los Angeles or Nashville are bucket list destinations for millions of holidaymakers. But since Donald Trump returned to office, some travellers are steering clear of the US, a loss predicted to cost billions.
And maybe the biggest shift isn't financial or procedural, but emotional. The United States was once a symbol. It stood for freedom, opportunity, cultural energy, a dream that belonged to everyone. But something's changed. In recent surveys, travelers from Europe, Asia, and even neighboring Canada say they simply no longer feel welcome, not threatened, not unsafe, just not wanted.
In 2024, more than 70 million people visited the US from overseas. But this year, Oxford Economics predicts that number will fall by at least 8%.
That subtle feeling of being tolerated rather than invited is powerful. It nudges decisions. It pushes families toward Paris instead of New York. It redirects students to Toronto instead of Boston. It steers retirees toward Lisbon instead of Florida. People haven't stopped traveling. They've just started going elsewhere.
We are now the most hated country in the world.
The impact isn't coming, it's already here. Tourism is one of America's quiet economic engines, and right now, that engine is sputtering. With international arrivals dropping across the board, the U.S. is on track to lose billions in visitor spending in 2025 alone. And that's not just a line on a spreadsheet that's lost paychecks. From hotel staff in Miami to airport workers in Chicago, hundreds of thousands of jobs depend on foreign tourism. And when those visitors don't show up, those jobs hang in the balance. Major cities are feeling the sting first. New York, Los Angeles, Miami, all global icons of American tourism, are reporting steep declines in hotel bookings and restaurant traffic. Broadway ticket sales are slowing.
As America embarks on its America First foreign policy, a lot of non-Americans are feeling, well, kind of unwelcome. In fact, dozens of countries have already issued travel advisories to their citizens.
Tour buses are half full. In some areas, entire blocks that once thrived on tourist foot traffic are now seeing empty tables and shuttered storefronts. For cities that rely heavily on tourism taxes to fund public services, the consequences could stretch far beyond the hospitality sector. The aviation industry isn't waiting around to see what happens next. Airlines have already started cutting routes to U.S. destinations, especially from Europe and Asia, while reallocating those aircraft to routes serving Canada, Europe, or the Pacific. Some travel agencies have gone further, pulling back marketing for U.S. vacations altogether, citing softening demand and shifting sentiment. Travelers aren't just canceling trips, they're rewriting their travel wish lists altogether. This isn't just a temporary dip in numbers, it's a quiet realignment of where the world wants to go. And right now, America is no longer at the top of that list. It starts with an empty airplane, not a quiet one, a nearly deserted one. Row after row of vacant seats on what used to be a packed international flight to the U.S. One passenger sits alone looking out the window. The silence isn't peaceful, it's unsettling. This was supposed to be a dream trip. Instead, it feels like a warning. Cut to the streets of Manhattan. Times Square still glows, but the crowds are thinner. Hotel lobbies echo. Restaurant patios are half full. Tour guides wait longer for customers who never arrive. It's not dramatic, but it's noticeable. The heartbeat of American tourism is slowing, and no one's quite sure how to restart it. Now rewind a little further. We're back at the airport, this time at the border. A student from Germany looks up as a customs officer calls her name. She's nervous. She's already been waiting 2 hours. Nearby, a mother clutches her phone as her son is taken for additional screening. There's no shouting, no chaos, just confusion and fear. No one told them this could happen, but it's happening, and it's being documented. Further back now, headlines flash across international TV screens. Travelers held despite visas. U.S. entry delays spark backlash. Tourism agencies reroute bookings. These aren't fake news. These are real events playing out in real time, and they're shaping how the world sees America not as a destination, but as a question mark. And then the scene changes. A flight lands in Tokyo. Another touches down in Lisbon. One more in Auckland, each one full. Laughter fills the aisles. Passengers grab their bags with excitement. The arrivals hall is buzzing with energy. These are the places now rising. The countries welcoming the world while America watches from the sidelines. This isn't a boycott. It's not anger. It's momentum shifting. And in the quiet reversal of crowded gates and glowing signs, a new map of global tourism is being drawn. One that for now is turning away from the United States. This isn't irreversible, but fixing it will take more than airport posters and glossy tourism ads. Because what's broken isn't branding, it's trust. If the United States wants to reclaim its place as the world's dream destination, it must start where the problem began, at the border. Entry policies need to be reimagined, not just simplified, but humanized. That means clear rules, consistent procedures, and above all, the understanding that every traveler isn't a threat to screen, but a guest to welcome. It also means empowering the people at the front lines. Border officers need training that goes beyond protocol. They need cultural awareness, language support, the tools to manage security without intimidation. Because the first impression of America should never be fear, it should be fairness. And beyond the airports, diplomacy must re-enter the conversation. Soft power. The kind built through partnerships, student exchanges, and cultural respect has been pushed aside for far too long. It's time to bring it back. To show the world that America doesn't just want tourists, it values them. Finally, there's one truth that can't be ignored. Travel isn't separate from politics. But it shouldn't be weaponized by it. Tariffs, tensions, and rhetoric shouldn't spill over into how visitors are treated. A trade dispute with one country shouldn't become a cold shoulder at the airport gate. Tourism must remain above the noise. Because when foreign policy poisons the travel experience, the damage isn't just economic, it's emotional. The world hasn't stopped believing in what America once symbolized, but it's watching closely. And the next move will decide whether the U.S. remains a magnet of global curiosity or becomes a memory travelers are quietly moving on from. Tourism was never just about flights and photos. It was about stories, about what a place makes you feel before you even get there. And right now, the story America is telling the world isn't the one people want to hear. For decades, the U.S. stood as a symbol of freedom, creativity, ambition. But symbols fade when they aren't protected. And in 2025, that symbol is dimming. The question is, can it be rebuilt? Can America rediscover how to welcome instead of screen, how to invite instead of interrogate, and how to show the world not just strength, but sincerity? We're not just watching a drop in tourism. We're watching a shift in how people relate to a country that once inspired them. And that shift, once it happens, is hard to reverse. But it's not too late. So we leave you with this. Is the U.S. still the dream destination it once was, or has the world quietly moved on? Let us know in the comments. And if this story made you think, hit like, subscribe, and share it forward, because understanding where the world is going starts with recognizing where it no longer feels welcome.